wall's been building in your mind.
Woo! We are on an adventure as we move right along. Welcome to the Pro Slam World Podcast with Larry Mormon. The big happenings in the world of professional wrestling. Big going-ons, especially in the WWE. But first and foremost, let's talk about it real quick. Let's definitely thank whoever you want to thank for Shane McMahon and for the pilot of the helicopter. Just a couple of days ago, from when I recorded this, Shane McMahon chartered a helicopter he was going to go from New York to the Hamptons out here on Long Island, or I think the West Hamptons, or one of the Hamptons. And it was him and the pilot in one of these, kind of small chartered helicopters. And the helicopter had to take an emergency landing in the water. The pontoons filled up so it can float, and landed right in the water. Both people are okay. It's just kind of funny that it happened to Shane. Someone who's been known to dive off high spots, especially if you remember last year's WrestleMania against The Undertaker, jumping off the much larger Hell in a Cell compared to the one that Foley fell off of in '98. But glad to see everyone was not hurt, completely unharmed. Shane looked completely unfazed from the whole process. The poor pilot wanted nothing to do with the little press conference they were doing. And I thought the best part about the press conference, if you go back and watch it, was someone, you hear them, the reporters asking, for their names and how to spell their names, so they can put it in print. And, you hear, like, they ask Shane's name, Shane McMahon, S-H-A-N-E, M-C-M-A-H-O-N. So they ask a couple of questions, Shane answers, and then someone goes, are you the son of Vince McMahon? And he goes, I am. And the woman reporter's like, oh, someone told me to ask. That was it. Just moved right along. Some of the memes that came out were very, very funny, with Shane pretty much just jumping out of helicopters into the water. So it was very good to see everyone was okay. I'm sure we'll hear about it this Tuesday on SmackDown. No, actually, we'll probably hear about it this Sunday at Battleground. And the Philly, I think it was Philly, right? Where's Battleground? Somewhere in PA, I think, this year. And whatever the local affiliate it was doing the report on Shane's helicopter, and at the same time, like, plugged Battleground being at I think it's the Wells Fargo Center, or the Wells Fargo Arena. It was good to kind of multitask on that one. But glad to see Shane McMahon's okay, and we'll see him this Sunday at Battleground. Big pay-per-view happening Sunday at Battleground, SmackDown exclusive. The final pay-per-view before SummerSlam. Can't wait. We're about 4 weeks away from SummerSlam. I got my tickets to NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 3. It was just announced, just made. Bobby Roode will defend the NXT Championship against Drew McIntyre in the main event. That's going to be a Donnybrook. And then, of course, you got SummerSlam itself, Sunday, August 20th. Right now, we're waiting to see who the number one contender will be for Brock Lesnar's Universal Championship. And, of course, this Sunday, we'll see who the WWE Champion is. We'll talk about that in a moment. And then, of course, I got my tickets for Raw and SmackDown. All four of these shows are all at the Barclays Center out here in Brooklyn. I cannot wait. It's the third year that SummerSlam's in Brooklyn. This is the last one of their contract that they signed. They, for, 7, right? Yeah. I think 7 years in a row, SummerSlam was at the Staples Center in L.A. So, back in 2015... they finally decided to bring SummerSlam to the East Coast. Now, everyone was hoping Madison Square Garden, and at the time, probably would have made sense for MSG. But for some reason, they picked the Izod Center, and out in Jersey, the Izod Center was a building next door to MetLife Stadium, out there in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And it's just like, it's the IZOD. Like, what? Like, and they were going to do again, like, New York, New Jersey. Like, Jersey doesn't even get its own promotion. Kind of like when WrestleMania 29 was there. It's New York, New Jersey. And I was like, all right, I mean, I'm close enough. I'm about an hour from the IZOD, hour and a half. It's not the worst thing in the world. But luckily, the IZOD Center closed. They completely shut it down. So WWE needed to find a different location. Again, hoping it was going to be the Garden. Not so much. It ended up being the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. And you know what? I think that's actually a better shot. I'm still saying, I hate to say it for those who love it. I mean, MSG has history. But the Barclays Center is taken over as the place for WWE action, or at least on television, since they don't do TV from MSG anymore. So they did their first SummerSlam of 3, but this was just 1 so far. And then they released that they signed a deal with the Barclays Center that they would do the next 2 SummerSlams, 2016 and 2017, in Brooklyn. Game on. Last year is when they did, 2015 is when they did TakeOver Brooklyn, which I missed. I missed the first TakeOver in Brooklyn, which I'm so upset about, because that was the first TakeOver in an arena, first NXT show in an arena. What happened on that one was before they even announced TakeOver, I had already bought tickets to a Ring of Honor show in Coney Island, actually, which ended up being the same night as TakeOver, because it was the night before SummerSlam. And then, lo and behold, they announced TakeOver Brooklyn. I was like, oh, man. But I already had my tickets for Ring of Honor, and I actually had a great time at the ROH show. It's called Field of Honor. They've actually done a few of them. No announcement this year, unfortunately, which stinks, because their shows in Brooklyn were really, really good. And then last year, I made it to TakeOver 2 in Brooklyn, SummerSlam, and Raw. And now this year, it's going to be TakeOver, SummerSlam, Raw, and SmackDown. So I've already taken off all these days. I even took off the Friday before because I'm doing a meet and greet with Alexa Bliss, and it looks like I'm going to get the plaque signed. I had on my Facebook page, I had a poll, if you will, to try to figure out what to get signed by Alexa Bliss. Would it be the Muscle and Fitness Hers magazine she's on the cover of? The Alexa Bliss plaque, commemorating her being the first woman to hold both Raw and SmackDown women titles? Or get this really sweet-looking poster. Everyone went plaque? Plaque it is. So I'll bring the plaque. But it's going to be a busy, busy weekend. But I'll be there. Hopefully you'll be there too. Even if you're online, just waiting or hanging out outside the Barclays. Hope to see you there. But this Sunday, though, before we get to SummerSlam, we got to get through Battleground with the return, for the first time in 10 years, the return of the Punjabi prison match. There's only been 2 others in history. The first one, Undertaker and Big Show. The second one for the world title, World Heavyweight Championship, Batista and the Great Khali. This one will be for the WWE Championship, and it will be the WWE Champion Jinder Mahal going up against Randy Orton. This is Orton's second attempt to win back the WWE Championship from Mahal. Of course, the rules of the Punjabi prison. It's basically a cage inside of a cage. No, don't worry. It's not the Kennel from Hell match. Nothing will ever be the Kennel from Hell match. This one has if you will, a steel cage surrounding the ring, like a traditional cage, with 4 exits. Each exit can be opened at any time by any superstar. It remains open for 60 seconds, and then will close permanently for the rest of the match after those 60 seconds. Once you escape the inner cage, there is an outer, larger cage you have to escape from, and that you have to climb over the top. Both, the last 2, I didn't have a problem with. Both featured big guys, big wrestlers. Tall, first of all, because you had Undertaker, Big Show, and Khali. Batista is just big man into his own. But this one's going to have Jinder Mahal, Randy Orton. I think they're going to put on a show. I like these type of matches, these weird matches, especially the ones you don't see often. This is only the 3rd Punjabi prison. I'm not counting the one that they broke out on SmackDown. Excuse me. So it's going to be a good show. We're also going to find out who the number 1 contender is for Naomi's Women's Championship, as it will be a 5-way elimination match with Charlotte, Becky, Natalya, Lana, and Tamina. Tag titles are on the line. The Usos taking on the New Day. amongst other matches. Check it out, of course, on the WWE Network for $9.99. We're going to get back to WWE in a moment, but there was a question actually posed by someone, a fan of Pro Slam World. Thank you very much. As Felix actually contacted me, and he asked a very, very interesting question. So I guess we'll consider this kind of listener corner, listener mail. I don't know what to call it. I've been drinking all night. Basically, he asked me, who are some of my favorite indie wrestlers today? And, it was a good question. Really, I needed time to think about it, because there are a lot of them. But a few just come to mind. Priscilla Kelly. She just recently won the tournament over there in Shine Wrestling to become the first ever Shine Novas champion. I think that's their version of like the Intercontinental or the U.S. title, kind of a secondary title to the Shine Championship. Priscilla Kelly, she's very talented. She's got a great gimmick. She reminds me of Paige, but even a little like more goth, but not too goth. Kind of like actually like sexy goth. But that does not take away from her athleticism and her talent. She's tremendous in the ring. She's not afraid to go for it. She takes bumps. She got some moves to show. Keep an eye out on Priscilla Kelly in Shine. Again, she is the current Shine Women's Nova champion. Some other indie wrestlers. The current Evolve champion, Zack Sabre Jr. He has tremendous wrestling skill. He was actually in the Cruiserweight Classic last year. His talent far exceeds kind of the realism to his gimmick. It doesn't really have a gimmick. It's him. It's Zack Sabre Jr. He wrestled in New Japan as well recently. I think he was even in the G1 tournament, if I remember correctly. Zack Sabre Jr. is one of these guys who prides himself on not only submission wrestling, but being able to escape submissions and not just go into the rope. He rarely, I don't think in the matches I've seen him in, I think maybe once or twice, I've ever actually seen him go to the ropes. He's normally finding ways to actually get out of whatever, submission he's in, which is very cool. I do like that. Another wrestler, also currently in Evolve, All Ego, Ethan Page. He's got a very great gimmick as far as this kind of just straightforward, no nonsense. He's just going to beat you up for beating you up. When I first saw him, he was feuding with Johnny Gargano. Gargano was still in Evolve. He was just about to end his Evolve run because he was heading over to NXT. And so I missed Page's first run as a heel. I saw him as a face, and it was pretty interesting because the way Evolve used him, basically, it was almost like he was trying to win back to not even win back the fans, but more try and get back in the good graces of the fans, which I think is pretty cool. Not just kind of a face turn and, hey, everyone likes you. He's actually trying to win back the fans and their trust as being a face as opposed to a heel. And then it wasn't until about a year or so later, maybe a few months ago at this point, where he turned back heel and kind of looked like he started his own faction. And he's definitely one. He's got that unadulterated, just raw nastiness to him, which is good. Good, you like to see that in a heel, in a villain. He had this match against Darby Allin at Evolve. It was a last man standing match, and it was brutal, absolutely brutal. Page just shoving Darby Allin into a body bag and gave him a power bomb, which with thumbtacks inside the body bag, mind you, thumbtacks inside the body bag. So he's and he also waylaid him with a shovel. Good Lord, I think he popped the poor guy's elbow out or something. It was wild. There are so many independent wrestlers out there. Leo Rush, who, last I checked was still, actually just recently lost it, but he was recently House of Glory Crown Jewel champion. Just a few months ago, he was Combat Zone Wrestling World Heavyweight Champion. He was in Ring of Honor for a little while, but he went back to the Indies, which is nothing wrong with that. A lot of guys are thriving on the Indies. Is Cody considered an indie wrestler? I won't go there. I won't consider him an indie. He wrestles on the Indies, but he won't be on this list. So yeah, Felix, that's Priscilla Kelly, Ethan Page, Zack Sabre Jr., Leo Rush. These are some of the guys who I definitely been keeping an eye on, and girls, keeping an eye on, who definitely caught my eye, my interest. And you know how I feel about independent wrestling. If it's not for indie wrestling, we're not really going to have good stuff in the WWE. You want to go out, you want to support independent wrestling when you can, where you can. I've said it before and I'll say it again. You never know who you're going to see starting their career, and you never know who you're going to see kind of finishing out their career. Either way, it's fun to watch, fun to get into, independent wrestling. And if you want to talk about independent wrestling, go check out ProWrestlingSyndicate.com. Tickets are still available for Refuse to Lose. See what I did there? See what I did there? Huh? Marketing, people. Marketing. Folks, what is going on over at WWE? What is Vince thinking? All he's doing is splitting tag teams again. This past month, we saw, or 2 months, if you want to stretch it out a little bit, 2 months or so, we saw the demise of DIY in NXT when Tommaso Ciampa jumped Johnny Gargano after their title match. Enzo and Cass just split up, and now American Alpha. I'm not 100% sure what Vince has against tag teams. All right, fine. NXT, you know what? NXT's, I understand they're not really designed for super long runs because they're kind of meant to be there for maybe a few years and then come up to the main roster. So I can kind of see that with DIY, but so far no one's come up to the main roster yet, so I don't know. But I'll allow that down there. Plus, that's not Vince. That's actually more Triple H, so let's scratch that one. Enzo and Big Cass, they've been on the main roster for a little under a year and a half. I mean, that's a drop in the bucket, and they're already split. Every tag team, let's face facts, it's inevitable. Every tag team is going to split eventually. Rockers, Colossal Connection, these are just to name a few. That the APA, they split. I'm not talking about where even the partners battle each other. I'm just talking in general. The Hardys have done it. The Steiner brothers have done it. It's just, it happens. The Outsiders even did it, to be honest with you. Shawn and Diesel. But, they were together for a while before the breakup. But here it just feels like it's going quick. I mean, it's almost like it's already been known that a lot of guys are coming up from NXT who thrive down in NXT. They make it to the main roster, and then creative doesn't know what to do with them. And I'm not really. I know I've heard some podcasts, some people in the business saying that that's really more on the talent than on creative. I can kind of see that. But I think it's creative. I'm going to put the blame on creative. I'm going to put the blame on Vince McMahon because they're bringing up these wrestlers, these teams, and they're just getting lost in the shuffle. So now some of these tag teams are starting to suffer. Enzo and Cass, probably the hottest thing going. Yes, more Enzo than Cass, don't get me wrong. But the way that tag team worked, and I loved how Enzo and Cass's dynamic worked. Basically, Enzo got beat up, and Cass came in to save the day and win the match. They were never tag team champions, either in NXT or on Raw, but they had a chemistry, and I feel like that chemistry worked. But apparently, Big Cass got tired of Enzo Amore and literally and figuratively kicked him to the curb. They had a match at Great Balls of Fire, which was just a dominant force on Big Cass's part. So I don't know where they're going to go further with the feud. You always have, I hate to say it, you always have your Shawn Michaels of a tag team, and you always have your Marty Jannetty of a tag team. So even though these teams break up, it's curious to see who's going to be the Shawn Michaels, being able to move on in their career and really making a name for themselves. Who's going to be Marty Jannetty, who kind of disappears. So, and then this past Monday, they have this storyline that they've done before, but what are we going to do? It's tons of episodes. It's a brand new episode every week. It's bound to happen. Storylines, rehash storylines, recycled storylines. But Kurt Angle apparently has a son that he didn't know about. Son is a WWE superstar, and the son, Kurt Angle's son, is Jason Jordan. Okay, fine. Jason Jordan, an amazing collegiate athlete, amazing wrestler in college. Obviously, Kurt Angle, his credentials go without saying. We'll run with the gimmick. That's fine by me. The storyline itself doesn't bother me because, again, it's a storyline, so I'm not worried about that. But just like that, Jason Jordan's now on Raw, and out of nowhere, American Alpha's split up. Another great tag team. American Alpha was amazing in NXT. Personally, I think their NXT tag title reign could have went a little bit longer, but that's okay. Like I said, really down in NXT, not meant to last long. And wasn't shortly after they lost the tag titles, they came up to the main roster anyway, so that's fine. But it just, like, there was no feud between the two of them, between Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. There was no hint of breaking up the tag team, of any animosity between the two. And wham, Jason Jordan's now on Raw, and even Chad Gable on SmackDown, when they interviewed him, he was like, what do I do now? This is, like, all news to me. Like, Chad Gable was like, I found out when everyone else found out when Jason Jordan came out on Raw. Again, I beg the question, who's going to be the Shawn Michaels? Who's going to be the Marty Jannetty? The only thing I say is, again, it's inevitable for tag teams to split up. I don't have a problem of the idea of a tag team splitting up. But give it time. Like, give it a few years. Like, at this point, if the New Day split up and, like, one or two of them went heel, I'll take it. If the Usos split up and even started feuding each other, I'll take it. They've been around for a while as a tag team. Not American Alpha. Like, who's next? Breezango. I mean, they already released Simon Gotch, so Aiden English. Again, Vaudevillains. There's another one. A tremendous tag team in NXT, floundered up here on the main roster. And I don't blame the talent. I blame creative. That's my 2 cents. Stop breaking up tag teams, at least within the first, 2 years. Give them at least 2 years of being on the main roster. Then if you want to start hinting at a breakup, a split, even if it's mutual split between the two of them, give it at least a couple of years. So if anyone from WWE is listening, please heed my words. I'm a huge fan. And with that, I'm going to call it, because I'm tired. I've been drinking. And I'm looking forward, though, because I got to rest up and get ready. We're a month away from SummerSlam. I'll be at SummerSlam. I'll be at the Barclays. I will be reporting from SummerSlam. And then after that, we move on to Pro Wrestling Syndicate's Refuse to Lose in New Jersey. Get your tickets. They're all $20. First row is gone. Second row is on its way gone. Check it out. ProWrestlingSyndicate.com. And, of course, don't forget Pro Slam World on YouTube. Pro Slam World on Facebook. And, folks, if you have any questions, want to get ideas, my ideas, post it on the Pro Slam World Facebook page. I'll be more than happy to answer them next week. Catch you guys later.